um, no one actually, saying they were right or anything. It's all calm, and we're doing good right now. I am GL, also known as Gladys Louise, also known as Never Enough GLT on Twitter. Come see me. We are here with Hamna. Would you like to introduce yourself since the other person is incommunicado right now?
First of all, Julio Jones is inactive. So if you have Russell Gage, you start him. He's a must start this week now. Okay, with that being said, I am FF Junkie on FF Junkie 85 on Twitter, and I also am a contributor with GoingFor2.com. You can find me in both places. And my friend here, I'll let him explain his screen right now.
Oh, me? Okay. So, hi. Sorry about the lighting. Jared Riccadonna, Rico, RICCO _3733. That's as you can see, I'm still riding the train of Mr. Tannehill. I was wrong in last week's bet. I said QB7, he was QB8. So please don't be mad at me if you started him and still took your victory lap, because that's what we do here. So, hi.
And we have one more member who will join us in the second half hour of the Fantasy G-Pod, who will answer your DFS questions. And are we okay there? All right.
I'm trying to fix the lighting.
You do what you got to do there, Jared. We're going to go with the main thing that everyone is talking about, and that is injuries. Did you say, I'm sorry, did you say Julio Jones is inactive or active?
Oh, he is inactive today.
He is inactive today. So what we do is players that are on the injury list that may play, that you have trepidations about starting. Mine was Julio Jones, but now that he's inactive, it's not a problem. I guess the second one would be Devontae Adams, who is playing in a late game, which means you're going to have to wait until hopefully you have wide receivers that you can replace, or flex that you can replace in that late spot. But other than that, I don't know that I would start him against. Oh,
yeah, it's a little bit of a risk. I'll flash one of my deep sleeper cards. I demoted him to deep sleeper, added from must start last week. But if they're taking a gamble on Adams playing, and you still can somehow find it in your deck of cards to gamble Emmanuel Sanders again as your fallback option, then you can play with fire and see what happens. But that's really the only option you have given the circumstances of your risk playing Sanders. Also, quick moment, random thought of the day before we get out. How did human beings know what dinosaurs sounded like?
How did human beings what?
How did human beings know what dinosaurs sounded like?
Fossils?
You can't hear fossils.
You can't.
Oh,
yeah.
sound like.
That's a great question, man. I never thought of that. Wow. I'm usually pretty opinionated, but wow, you really got. I don't know how to answer that question. That's a great question, actually.
We're gonna just nominate Jared as our deep thinker for today.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Jared said the last he saw Adams was doubtful for today.
Yeah, I mean, if you're so getting back on course though, that's probably your legit only option. Or if you feel like playing two tight ends, fire up Jared Cook if you have like a Jonnu Smith. Yes, I said it, Hamid.
Finally,
something like that. So, but go ahead. What's your thoughts, Hamid, on the Devontae Adams? What are you thinking, or what's your emergency options if you decide to gamble?
And these are really gamble picks. At this point, probably all those sleepers that we had in mind for the first 2 weeks are probably already gone. So I'm going to give a few names that are in 10 to 12-man leagues that may not be rostered. First of all, with Adams, he's not going to be 100% even if he does play. He did not finish the game last week, but then again, also keep in mind the Packers were comfortably ahead at the time, so they did not risk bringing Adams back into the game. So I don't expect him to be 100% healthy even if he plays. So, and considering the big problem, it's a night game. If you have, let's say, someone like Golden Tate on waivers potentially with Sterling Shepard on IR now. I think Tate has a great opportunity to give you a floor a range of about 10 to 12 points this week. Granted, it's against the Niners, but they, of course, have a ton of injuries on both sides of the ball. And Golden Tate's going to be your PR guy. He's not going to be Darius Slayton to run the deep routes and catch those touchdowns. I wouldn't be surprised if he had about a stat sheet of about, let's say, 8 receptions for 65 to 60 yards today.
What about the two other wide receivers on the Packers? Like MVS isn't that highly rostered, and neither is Allen Lazard. I would go with Allen Lazard. He's going to play out of the slot. If Adams doesn't play, they're going to move MVS to the outside. Lazard's going to go in the slot, so you won't have to get Lattimore. Yeah, I would play Lazard.
And sorry if you see me getting up. My cat's playing with the fan.
Ooh, are you going to bring the cat in? Yes, there's the Savannah cat. Hello.
He's so long, too. Look at him.
He is so long. He's a great cat. So, Hamed, you wouldn't play either of the two other wide receivers?
No. So here's the thing with Allen Lazard and MVS. Yes, of course, they're starting. They're going to see a majority, if not all, the offensive snaps, at least passing options.
Right.
Entering this week, MVS has led Allen Lazard in targets, which is 13 to 9. Of course, he has. They both have the same number of receptions with
and everything else. He's behind him in the amount of time he spends on the field. He's behind him in the snap percentage, and it was with Adams. Now we're talking without Adams. You're moving MVS outside. You're putting Lazard in the slot. He's going to get more targets. I think. Okay.
Neither has been efficient though. Can we really say?
Plot twist. Aaron Rodgers will only pass up 2, but no more than 25 times, and it's going to be the Aaron Jones workhorse show round 2. That's really all it's going to be.
To add to your point, I agree with that. I think Aaron Jones has the potential to be we've seen it already. He should be a top 5 RB in our rankings this week, with Adams out. But also keep in mind, Aaron Jones is second on the team in targets with 14 behind Devontae Adams on this team.
Right.
I expect him to catch easily between 5 to 8 passes out of that backfield today. And that's just his floor with his rushing upside that he already has and possesses. Don't be surprised if Adam Jones is the one with the rushing and a receiving touchdown in this game. I think Jones is going to be the focal point if Devontae Adams, even if he's active, I think Jones is going to be the focal point. I think the ball is going to be spread around amongst this offense without Adams in the lineup this week. It's just hard. I need to see the volume. I just don't see the volume this week for either of them for me to take a chance with them. If I can have someone else, and yes, I'm going to say again, Golden Tate, I think he has a lower floor than both of these guys, but I think he has a safe floor of between 10 to 12 fantasy points this week.
Yeah,
I don't think it's crazy to assume with
Nick has a question. He wants to know if he should play Fournette or Mike Davis.
Mike Davis.
Really?
I mean, look what he did with not even playing a full game. He had, I think, 8 receptions. I forget the number of yards.
He's going against a weaker defense, though. Mike Davis is going against the Chargers, whose front seven is pretty stout.
Right. Well, I mean,
we're not against them, who's like limping into the game.
You didn't pick up Mike Davis for his rushing upside. You picked him up for his PPR upside. If this was standard, I go Fournette all day, every day over Mike Davis. In PPR, which I'm assuming this question is related to, it's hard for me to pass up on Mike Davis in PPR over Leonard Fournette. Granted, he did have a monster, I think 2 touchdowns, 13 rushes, 108 yards, I believe it was, something like that. Fournette. So he had a great week last week, but it's just hard for me to pass on Mike Davis in PPR over Fournette right now. I need to see a little bit more consistency from Fournette in his usage before I'm ready to say Fournette over Mike Davis.
Hamed, the F on my shirt stands for Freebird, but I'm also going to give you an F for your take right now for what you just said. You 100% start Fournette. I'm sorry, but the Broncos have no offense. Drew Lock is out. Philip Lindsay is out.
Yes.
Courtland Sutton is out. They're not going to drive. The Buccaneers, the game script's going to dictate them to running the ball, and you're going to see Fournette pound them right where it hurts, right up the middle, and get another 1 to 2 touchdown games. You start Fournette here.
Plus, Fournette had 5 targets last week too. He was targeted 5 times, so they are considering him in the passing game.
So let's just keep in mind this game is in Denver.
Right.
When Melvin Gordon joined this team, even he said he needed time to adjust to Denver's atmosphere. So we're saying in Denver,
that's a stretch. That's a stretch.
No,
you're like Michael Jordan in Space Jam. You're reaching, man. Get out.
All right, next question. Ryan wants to know, he says, Jerry Judy sounds like he's going to play in PPR, so Jerry Judy or Golden Tate? Yikes. I would not
Man.
I'm gambling Judy because there's one thing you can do against the Buccaneers is pass. Running against them, though, so I think Judy can at least get the targets between him and Fant. And that's risky with no lock still. So you might give you flex numbers, but I'm not, similar to what Hamid said earlier, I'm not crazy about either one to just put in my lineup as a WR2 and saying that felt amazing. So I go Judy.
I agree. I think I second that as well. I think Judy will have more targets. I think the Giants and Niners game, even though the Giants defense isn't that great, I think that game is not going to be. There's not going to be that many scoring opportunities on that game. I think the upside with Judy is there from an offensive standpoint, where he can see more targets than Golden Tate. So opportunity is king for me. So I'm going with Judy as well.
So Judy, okay. Jared wants to know standard scoring. Pick 2: Chubb, Carson, or Henry. I'm going Chubb, Henry.
I'm going Carson and Henry.
Chubb and Carson.
So wait, wait. Stop. You are the biggest Titan guy here. You're like so you're not going to go out for Henry the way you did for Ryan Tannehill this week?
Apples to oranges, man. Quarterback versus running back.
But I don't know how you do in standard scoring though. How do you bench Henry?
He hasn't impressed.
We're taking Jerick Henry here, right? We're talking about Jerick Henry, right?
Then Chubb in standard scoring. Aren't they playing?
You want to know who has more rushing touchdowns than Derrick Henry this year so far? The entire league.
Lot.
That has one
a
or
lot
more.
Of people do.
So,
I totally get that.
Until he shows me something between that and his 3.6 yards per carry, I need to see more. Carson and Chubb for me.
For me, it's Carson and Henry. I don't see how I can bench Henry, and even though I don't see how I can bench Henry. 30+ touches on a weekly basis upside. In standard, you want touchdowns. Henry has been king. And granted, yes, he's gone off to a bit of a slow start, but I don't see how against the Vikings you don't start Henry. Given how bad that defense is, I think the Titans can easily move the ball against this defense. If there's a week that Henry finally got goose egg off his board, that's going to be this week.
What's the over-under in that game? The Dallas-Seattle game is what, 56.5?
It's high. High.
Yeah. You think the run game is going to be paramount in that game? Do you think the run game is I just see Russ throwing the ball. Throwing it to DK Metcalf, hopefully.
The thing with that is the entire defense of Dallas is either suspended, injured, or struggling. So that there's nothing the Seahawks. There's not. I hate using double negatives. There's nothing that they can't do though. Against a porous Cowboys, anything against Dallas and Atlanta, I'm always say start. So.
Yeah, I think, of course, I think Zeke's a top 3 running back week in and week out, regardless of opponent. Granted, the Seahawks have allowed only 3.1 rushing yards per attempt. But then again, they did go up against the Patriots, who aren't very good at necessarily running the ball this year so far, at least, unless you're Cam Newton, obviously. But Yeah, that game's going to be a really high-scoring game. I think you start if you have anyone in that team. If you have Lockett and Metcalf, I start them both against this week. If you have CD Lamb and let's say Amari Cooper, I start them both comfortably. So this is going to be a very high-scoring game. I would not be surprised if that hits the over comfortably. I can see them both scoring 30 points.
Okay. Sorry, Jared. It's like a mixed bag there. Steven Taylor wants to know, flex start, Fournette, Hilton, or Kelly? Is that Joshua Kelly? Joshua Kelly. All day. All day, Joshua Kelly on that. For me, anyway.
Yeah. And I have to...
Jared said Hilton, grandma narrative. What? Yeah.
Let's not insult anyone, just Tamid, and that's the only one.
Joshua Kelly is 8th in the league in red zone touches. They're playing against Carolina, who is 29th in the league against running backs, and they have given up 6 rushing touchdowns. Go Joshua Kelly all day.
So this is actually leading into our next round. This question about who our must-starts are, and Kelly is actually my must-start. By the way, as expected, Devontae Freeman, as expected, is active. But going back to the question,
Mr. Giants fan?
I am excited because I picked him up off of waivers, even though I didn't have to. I wasted a lot of fab on him. But going back to the question, so about Kelly, and this is ridiculous when you look into the stats. He has the same amount of carries that Austin Eckler does, which is 35, and only 3 fewer catches than him. He's amongst the leaders, like just mentioned, in red zone attempts, which is 8, in carries inside the 10, which is 6, and rushes inside the 5, which is 3. Against the Chiefs alone, he had 25 total touches. He's getting the usage. And Carolina, as I think I mentioned already, has led the league NFL with 6 touchdowns allowed to the running back position. And also, here's a fun stat. Devontae Booker, he actually still plays, guys. He's one of 4 running backs to have at least 3 receptions against this defense, along with LaShawn McCoy, Fournette, and Jacobs. So I think Joshua Kelly is a must-start this week. You absolutely start Joshua Kelly, even though I think Hilton also has finally the game that we expect from Hilton this week as well, but I think Kelly's upside is significantly higher than Hilton's this week.
We actually are on a group census. I think Gladys could run against the Panthers' run defense, so it's pretty straightforward. I agree with you too.
I'm not even taking that as a compliment because I don't.
We should record this because this is the first time we've all three agreed on something.
Jared said Kelly's the right answer. Thanks, Jared. Stephen, go with Kelly. Why is even Hilton in that conversation?
I'm curious to know what his wide receivers are, though, if he's debating Hilton. I'm assuming that's a 10-man league. I'm curious to see who his other wide receivers are, though.
Steven,
so if you have a chance.
Tell us who your wide receivers are. Can you
I'm curious.
Please, and thank you. That would be.
While he types those out, or she, I didn't get who was asking. I apologize. Shall we go through our recap from Thursday's game? What we are taking?
Because it hurts me. Let's not go through our 9.2-point Gardner Minshew game when I said Deshaun Watson. Let's not do that. Okay, let's do it. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jared.
My biggest mind blower that if even you're in 1% of the people who said this, I want to bow down and crown you the king of fortune telling and what have you. So you should become the next Mr. or Miss Cleo. But anyone who thought about or anticipated Myles Gaskin being the guy out of the entire Dolphins backfield and that being the staple of their game, kudos to you. Beyond that, I thought it was an interesting game from the sense that I think that Minshew needs Chark more than Chark needs Minshew.
Minshew just looked bad. Like he couldn't pass the eye test. Minshew could not pass the eye test. He looked bad. He was missing throws high, he was missing throws low, he was missing throws long. He looked bad. And I don't know if it's the Chark thing, but did Chark play last week?
Yeah.
So he just got hurt last week?
He did.
Yeah. Actually, during practice. I thought it was.
Steven's wide receivers are Moore, Metcalf, and Allen Robinson.
Oh, that's okay. That makes sense. What I was asking.
Yeah. That's a Metcalf.
I like all three over Hilton.
Yeah, I just it was disheartening. I guess is maybe not the right word to watch Minshew play that badly. I just thought he played very poorly. Although James Robinson, superstar. I'm sorry I don't have any part of him.
Okay, say it. You're on the James Robinson train and the Tannehill train. Just get it off your chest. It feels so much better.
Did I tell you that I sat Tannehill last week and played Cousins in the Scott Fish Bowl, and Cousins had negative 19 points? I'm not going to blame it on Ahmed. It was my decision, but yeah.
By the way, if this Thursday night showed anything, it showed that I think Chark is going to be more. If this is what we're expecting, I think Chark is more valuable in real life than he's going to be in fantasy. From the looks of it, at least through 3 weeks, or at least through 2 weeks that he's actually played. Granted, now what hurt them this past Thursday also were their offensive players. Chris Conley especially had 2 really bad drops, really bad drops that were right in his hand. Minshew did miss him open the end zone. He overthrew him significantly as well, so he should have had a touchdown there as well. But this offense, it opens up so much with DJ Chark on the field because defenses have to actually focus on him as the focal point of that receiving core. So with Chark on the field, I think Minshew will be fine. But without him, I don't see how you can. If the Dolphins, who were 31st in the league against the quarterback this season, entering Week 3, can get that much pressure, what was it, 4 sacks, I think it was, against Minshew? Granted, Minshew held onto the ball way too long. But if the Miami Dolphins get to him without DJ Chark, I mean, it's hard for me to actually imagine starting Minshew, and which I did. I started Minshew over Watson, and I'm hating myself for it now. So, but yeah, if DJ Chark's not active, I would recommend starting somebody else at this point because now we've seen what this offense looks like without him. So how are we confident moving forward with this?
I'm asking you this because you're the stats guy. So Thursday night, Minshew averaged 6.5 yards attempt. What did he average with Chark? What does he average with Chark on the field?
Give me 1 second. Take a look at that.
No, take your time.
And while he's looking at that, should we, not trying to squeeze everything all at once, but just for the value of time and G coming on in 10 minutes, should we go through the must-start sleepers and deep sleepers as well while he's looking that up?
Yeah, go for it.
My big 3, and obviously there's one of them's going to be the most common sense, and like I said, Hamid's going to be happy. But the first one's Mike Davis, just because of volume and opportunity. Yes, it's still against the Chargers, but GameScript's going to determine exactly what his capabilities are, and that's catching the football. Number 2, A.J. Brown continues to be injured. The knee's actually a lot worse than what they anticipated. So you go Jonnu Smith here, yes. That guy, that Mr. New York Giants fan himself, I can at least own up and admit it. And then anyone against the Falcons defense, you play David Montgomery here. Again, it's anyone against the Panthers or Falcons run defense, you have great opportunity both in daily, standard, name the format. You'll start almost any running back against this too. My sleepers are Jerick McKinnon due to volume and Nick Mullins, so you're going to see a lot of checking down here. Chris Hogan, again, it's a sleeper. I'm not saying he's a must, but the entire offense is injured. And Drew Sample, my favorite. Burrow's been targeting the tight ends in the red zone religiously. Uzoma had 3 red zone targets in 2 weeks alone. He was actually my top waiver wire ad for the week. That's less than 2% owned or something like that. And then deep sleepers, it's still Emmanuel Sanders, like I said, demoted. Adam Humphries, who's been a nice PPR target option. Interesting to start 2 Titans, have 2 Titans players on there. It's almost like Ryan Tannehill can play quarterback. And then Jordan Reid as well with Kittle out one more time as a streamer for your tight ends.
And those are your sleepers? Go ahead. No,
I was gonna say FYI, Minshew averages 8.1 yards per attempt in the lineup. That's
huge.
Significant.
Yes.
Huge.
Yeah,
his air yards go up significantly more with Chark in the lineup.
That's night and day.
Yes, it is.
What's your start, sleep, and deep sleep, Hamid?
So, okay, I'm going to start with, I've already mentioned Joshua Kelly is my must-start of the week here. Another must-start for me is Cam Newton. Against the Seahawks, he had 47 yards and a touchdown on the ground and had over almost 100 yards. I think it was 395, 397 range it was. And I think he's getting really close to going back to the way he used to be in the Junior's MVP year. And that's a bit of a stretch, I get that. But he's starting to look like that. I don't think he's there quite yet. But I think,
and Bill is a genius.
And this makes if Newton continues what he's doing right now, I think Bill Belichick is going to supplant all those data that said that he is a product of Brady. I think this will supplant that if he keeps his pace. And keep in mind that defense is not what it used to be last year or even the year before. This defense is not the same. A lot of players, remember, have sat out due to the COVID. So let's keep that in mind as well. This is very phenomenal what they're doing. And they almost won that game against the Seahawks. So let's all keep that in mind. This is very fascinating. I think Cam Newton has top 5 potential against the Raiders this week. And potentially, I think he's a top 7 play for the rest of the season, if you ask me. Another running back that I think is a must-start. Go ahead.
Can you do that? No, I'm sorry. Dan wants to know Sample, Landry, Claypool, Mike Williams, or Schultz in a PPR flex. I'm assuming you can only have one of those multitudes. 2, 5. Mike Williams, I would not play.
Yeah, not Mike Williams.
Schultz, I think, is a product of game flow and game script as well. I'm not there with him just after 1 week, so I don't know. I don't think I can buy into it, because if he was that good, he would have been starting this year. He would have been starting last year. I think it was just more of a dart throw thing until we see that. If we see the second week in a row, I'll eat that loss, but I'm not going to play him either.
I think Sample. I like Sample out of that.
That's been my ad. I'm going to stay true to him because I'm starting him in 2 different leagues today.
The Redskins have allowed the 7th most fantasy points through the tight end position also, and are in top 10 in receptions and yards allowed. Granted, it's only 2 games in, so it's only 2 touchdowns allowed to the position. But for me, it's Sample. I don't see how you don't start Sample this week.
Targets his tight ends.
But those are
that's really
that's the second time.
That's really scary to me. All right, Gerson wants to know over under how many times Jarrett and Ahmed disagree today. I'm going under 5.
We've agreed 3 times so far.
They're pretty much BFFs right now. It's really frightening.
Don't push it.
But let's keep in mind, we're not friends. We don't like each other. Let's make sure we're clear about that. Just because we agree, it's just a product of the data that's being given to us. It's not us agreeing because we like each other. So we still don't like each other. Just keep that in mind, and we'll be good.
It's data-driven agriment.
I actually sent a glitter bomb to his house. He just doesn't know it yet.
You're ridiculous. All right, Ahmed, I'm sorry. Who are your running backs?
Another running back for me was James Conner. I think Roethlisberger's floor is safe, but his ceiling is limited because of who they're facing this week. And for me, James Conner, I think he's going to have a very dominant game. Granted, if you go back to week 2, where everybody was worried about Benny Snell being a timeshare with Benny Snell, he had what? He had 14 more touches than Benny Snell last week, and he had a touchdown at over 100 yards. I think Snell had a handful of touches. For me, as long as last week was any indication that Conner is back to being the workhorse for that backfield, I see no reason for you to worry about not starting. I think he goes back to being a top 10 weekly play at running back as long as he maintains that stranglehold on the touches.
I think healthy.
He's
going to be. Tomlin is known for working one guy in the backfield.
He is,
and so
correct.
As long as Conner stays healthy, he's going to be that one guy.
Yeah, and also, and just an FYI for people that may be new to fantasy or haven't been watching football very long, when Le'Veon Bell went down twice during his time with the Steelers, and D'Angelo Williams was their backup, and older D'Angelo Williams, who dominated, who was an RB1 every week Bell sat, they still went back and used Bell, and D'Angelo Williams was relegated as backup and cleanup duties. So I don't see why that should change now. because we've seen in the past Tomlin go back to his bell cow running back when he's healthy. I don't see any reason why we should doubt that even now. And last week was any indication, we should expect the same moving forward with James Conner. And please, for God's sakes, James Conner, please stay healthy. I have you in one of my leagues. God. Another must start from. Go ahead.
Hamid, I was going to ask, give us a couple of your sleepers and deep sleepers just for the watchers and such. And then we'll get over to G. Hi, G. What's up, man?
What's up?
Yeah, my deep sleepers have to be, I mean.
Going on there.
No, go ahead and answer the question.
I think Dion Lewis is being a little bit overlooked this week. I know Devontae Freeman is active today. And this is his first game in quite some time. I don't think he's going to get a whole lot of touches. I think he's going to get his feet wet this week, still learn the offense. But then again, as a running back, it's really not that difficult to learn the offense because your role is, either you're running a route or you're blocking or you're running the ball. And half your plays are running the ball anyway. So I think Dion Lewis is a safe floor and limited ceiling play against the Niners this week. So if you're hurt by injuries and you need a flex option, then Dion Lewis is a great option. And of course, my good friend Jared already took Jerick McKinnon, who I've been selling from before offseason to get Jerick McKinnon.
Flexes on injuries. Come on.
I get that.
If TC and Mostert were both healthy, you'd be saying, don't pass me the ketchup, pass me the Mostert, because you wouldn't even be talking about McKinnon.
No. Mostert would then be a sleeper then. He'd be just a must start. He would not even be in a sleeper conversation. Mostert would not be. But McKinnon, even though with limited touches, he's produced, look at the numbers that he's produced with limited touches. He's had touchdowns back-to-back games. Why should that, if anything, with both of them out, how do you not start him this week?
Yes, I agree with that. But you're flexing on I told you so over injuries, man.
Well, no. If you go back to week 1 and week 2, tell me he did not produce with limited touches.
I think
ibuprofen. That's my roommate, buddy. I'm yelling for him because you're giving me migraines. What do you got for us, G?
Well, my thoughts, I said it on the DFS show, my thoughts on Jerick McKinnon. I'm not too high on him this week because this guy is recovering from a torn ACL. The 49ers just got out of MetLife field last week, and like half of their players were hurt, right? They're going back to play the Giants now. I'm pretty sure maybe they're a little bit worried that he might get hurt again, I mean, I wouldn't want to play with my players that already deal with a torn ACL. I like Jeff Wilson a lot this week, but if you play Jerick McKinnon, that's good. One guy that I thought was a really good sleeper, Tariq Cohen versus the Atlanta Falcons this week. I can see the what's called the Atlanta Falcons scoring point, even with what's his name, Julio out. A lot of people don't realize how bad this defense is. It's just gonna be a shootout. It's just, it's Mitch Trubisky, but hey, it's just that bad. That defense is bad, and they lost to safety last weekend, a middle linebacker. They're going to be pretty bad.
By the way, the Falcons are allowing top 6 in receptions to running back position, and also, granted, the yards aren't there really, but they're also they've given up 2 touchdowns to running back position in the receive column, and top 6 in receptions. So. Definitely in a game which should be high scoring. I do agree with you. Tariq Cohen is a decent play. I think his ceiling is still limited because David Montgomery did show that he is very capable as a pass catcher. Not Tariq Cohen capable, but he's very capable as a pass catcher. So I think David Montgomery will also be used in that in PPR. I think David Montgomery has a solid chance to be a top 20, if not top 15 play this week.
Yeah, I agree on that.
I agree with G in that I think that the 49ers aren't going to play people that they consider valuable, so I would go with Jeff Wilson instead of McKinnon because I think he'll be on the field. He's not. I don't want to say he's expendable, but he's not. They're on a field that their coach has already said he thinks is trash, and he thinks has hurt his players. I can't find anyone, that he thinks is going to help them later on. Plus, they're not playing with a team that he really should have to worry that much against. Sorry, Jets fans, but it's true. You know what I mean?
Let's not squeeze G-Man out. Let's not take all his thunder of his time. So what do you got for our watchers for your dailies?
For quarterback, I'm looking at, again, I'm going back to the well. You just play anybody playing the Cowboys now, I guess, or the Falcons, or the Seattle Seahawks. So we're
There's
going
an echo here again. See, there's an echo.
Hey, I'm telling you guys, when four minds think alike, great, right? Dak Prescott is probably my favorite player in DFS today. Along stacking him with Gallup, Michael Cooper, Amari Cooper, and what's the name? CeeDee Lamb. And then I heard your comment about Dalton Goats. I agree with you, but I disagree with you. The reason why I disagree with you is because while yes, he might not be a great tight end, opportunity presents itself. If you get 10 targets, you can make 88 yards out of it. And what did you get, like 9 receptions last week or something like that? Or 10 receptions? In a game like this, he can provide that PPR value. So I like Dalton Goat or Dalton. I don't know how to say his name. Kyler Murray, the other quarterback I like, and Russell Wilson. If you want to go contrarian and you want to play really low on GPP, Matthew Stafford, Cam Newton's going to be highly owned. I've been saying this all year. I mean, I'm not a Cam Newton guy, and I'm probably going to get bit in the ass this week for it. So if you win all the money, I'll applaud you, but whatever, Matthew Stafford, Mitch Trubisky again, and then another quarterback again for the third week in a row going very low owned is Josh Allen. I don't know why. I understand everybody thinks the Rams. I don't know why this narrative that people think the Rams defense is good. I think Jalen Ramsey had off and on games now for like the last probably 20 games that he played. He's very inconsistent. That's quarterback, running back, Miles Sanders, lock him in. I mean, I hate to say lock him in, but he's that good of a value today. He's in like almost 60% of my rosters, and that's when I'm running about 305 rosters. So let's see.
That's ridiculous. You have 305 rosters?
Yeah, but I use an optimizer, so I know how to do. I use really advanced stuff to like make my rosters. Like I can make 305 rosters in probably like 5 minutes or 3 minutes. But it's because it's so much advanced. It's a program, but I just don't want to say it on here because, well, yeah. If you guys know who created that program, let's just say he doesn't have a good reputation. But,
well, gee, let's say this. Cut it off there because even Colonel Sanders didn't give his secrets away. So
this is true. This is very true.
Ezekiel Elliott makes out for a great play. The 5 running. Holy shit!
It's the Red Bull. You shouldn't get sugar-free Red Bull. That's disgusting.
He's trying to get us on the TVMA ratings.
Jonathan Taylor, Dalvin Cook, very good low-owned play. But one guy that I'm really Kenyon Drake is a top play too. So if you have 3 top plays, it's Taylor, Sanders, and Kenyon Drake. They're going to be sharp. But the play that I'm looking at is Austin Eckler, Dalvin Cook, and David Montgomery. I think those 3 plays can be very contrarian, be very low owned. Wide receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, nuke him. And the reason why I say DeAndre Hopkins should be your highest owned player is because this week you don't have players to pay up for. There is not a Christian McCaffrey. There is no Saquon Barkley. There is no high-priced Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes. After that, we saw the news about Julio being out. Calvin Ridley, baby. The Ridley show today. Allen Robinson's my next guy. I'm going to correlate him back with Calvin Ridley. I'm not going to name all of them, but just play all the guys in the Cowboys-Seattle game. So, yeah.
Play everybody.
My favorite
backups, too.
Would you play Eckler over Kelly? Isn't Kelly isn't his like $5,000 or something on DFS?
So here's what I told people about this. I want efficiency.
Okay.
While Eckler is more efficient and more productive, he's going to get the more efficient workload. Yes, Joshua Kelly probably has more red zone looks, I believe. But here's the thing. He's averaging like 3-point-something yards per carry. I don't want that in my GPP lineup. And if they're going to pass the ball and get in the end zone, they're going to go to Eckler. I want upside. I mean, I can see Kelly getting 15, maybe 16 points, but Eckler can get me 30 to 25. I want that.
What's your best value play? So, okay, I spent 80% of my budget for the day, and I only have, after I filled my defense too, so I only have between 3,000 and 5,100, 5,200. Who do I play to fill that last spot?
I'm gonna give you two, and make sure anybody that's listening to me right now, make sure you're not drinking something, eating something. I don't want you to choke or what just happened to me. The high owned value play is KJ Hamler. He's 3,000, Denver Broncos. Now I'm a contrarian play. I'm gonna go the other route. It's Darnell Mooney of the Chicago Bears.
Oh no! I'm glad I wasn't drinking. I gotta sign off.
Yeah,
I'm glad I'm not drinking.
I understand, but here's what I'm going to convince you. Ready? This is what I've been telling everybody. Just calm down. My sell point on my top 2 sell points on this. He's actually like getting the snap share of the wide receiver 2 over Anthony Miller, and I don't really care about Jimmy Graham. So, and then the other thing is. This is the Atlanta Falcons defense do me a favor. Stat guy, Himat.
Yes.
Find out, and I've been saying this wrong the whole week because I'm a lazy piece of crap and I don't go look at my stats. Can you please find out the Falcons are ranked like bottom 5 in like long yards allowed or like long passes allowed or something like that? Like, what would you call it? What would you call that? That like
passes longer than 20 plus yards, I would say, and then you could go maybe 40 plus too.
Yeah. And I believe the Atlanta Falcons are like one of the worst in the season. Darnell Mooney is a speedster. He runs a 4.38. That's what he was used for. He's kind of like a John Brown like crappy version, I guess. But I like Darnell Mooney. I was on him in Dynasty, but that's my favorite value today. Again, there's not a lot of. If you were to say like out of the 3K range, Devin Singletary with no Zach Moss is a good value. But I mean, Mike Davis. Man, I don't.
Man.
Question.
So two things, G.
Do you play Cohen or Hamler for PPR? Jay.
One more time, I was talking. Sorry, Gladys. Go ahead.
Here we go. Thanks. Jay wants to know Cohen or Hamler PPR.
What was the question? Cohen or who?
Hamler.
Hamler PPR.
I say Cohen.
Cohen.
I mean, you had Driscoll throwing him the ball, so.
Yeah, I'll stay true to that. I agree as well.
I think people got to realize this. While Driscoll is is Driscoll, they're facing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have one of the top 5 adjusted sack rate, and they pressure the crap out of the quarterback. They're going to pressure Driscoll into making really bad decisions today. And Hamler, I mean, I wasn't believing your ibuprofen. What a nice guy.
That is a nice guy.
But Hamler is like he scares me a little bit because when I do Dynasty, so I do rookie profiles and stuff. He's very inconsistent with his route running, and not only that, he's a speedster, but he has a lot of intangibles to drop balls. He dropped a lot of balls. That came out wrong. Sorry about that. So Hamler worries me a little bit.
Plus, like you said, I think Driscoll's going to get sacked a lot. I think he's going to get pressured a lot. He's not going to have time to throw.
Yeah.
Well, I do have a question for G specifically for me. 2 things. One, do you pick Singletary or Mike Davis for your daily today? And 2, does Jordan Reid replicate what he did last week? Not necessarily 2 touchdowns, but maybe at least 1. Those are my 2 questions for my own sake, for my lineup.
I had Devin Singletary way higher in value over Mike Davis. Not like way higher, but like I have more exposure to him. Out of my 304 rosters, I have Singletary. Well, let me do the math real quick. 29 plus
You just said you're not a stats guy, and now you're trying to do math.
35. So,
By the way, why is looking that up? Falcons are bottom 5 in pretty much every defensive category. And completion percentage, they allow the highest completion percentage in the league, 77.4%.
yep. So
77.4%. That's ridiculous.
Thank you, man. You're my boy. You're my boy, Blue. So Devin Singletary, I have him like in 59 rosters, while what's his name, Mike Davis, I have him in 18 plus. Goodness, I hate math. I wish I could have your head. You know, like be like, can I be as smart as him? Yeah, he's not. So like almost like 28 rosters in Mike Davis. I'm not that high on him because they activated Reggie Bonifant for a reason. He was there last year, and this is the second year, right, with this coach?
Yeah. No.
Is it the first year?
Yes.
Okay, so you would think maybe Joe Davis, if you just barely activated him, and they've been talking about Curtis Samuel getting running back usage, and people forget this, but Curtis Samuel played the running back position at Ohio State too.
Right.
So
You did.
kind of worries me. I don't know what they're gonna do there. I mean, Singletary just seems more safe.
What was your second question, Jared?
Can Jordan Reid replicate what he did last week, even just a touchdown, but with Nick Mullins instead of the Greek god himself? So
No,
The Greek god himself.
The Greek god himself. You know, we all know Jeff, right? Me and Jeff argued for like a good half hour, and I'm not talking like talking or anything. We freaking chatted on a messenger about Jordan Reid versus favorite porn star Mo Alley-Cox. And me and this guy, we argued for like a half hour, and everybody like, wow, these guys really hate each other. And then Jeff goes, oh, it's just another day in my life where we have to disagree to agree, G. I'm like, yeah, well, okay. And like when they both went off last week for value, well, at first we go, told you Mo Alley-Cox would be hit value. I'm like, dude, Jordan Reid hit for 6.8 times value. That's 2 more times value than Mo Alley-Cox. I win. So like we just agree to disagree again. But to answer that question, I don't think so. I think they're just going to run the ball. Because if you really think about it, what's the safest way you prevent your offensive player from running too much? You just run straight route, you drive it down their throat. Because if you're running routes and stuff, that field, torn ACL, trust me. Imagine being a coach and you just lost 8 players, I believe it was, or like 6 players.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
How would you feel? And you know you're a Super Bowl contender team. You just paid Nick Bosa. Is that Nick? No, Nick. I mean, they haven't paid him yet, but they will pay him in the future. But
Okay, good question. Sorry, guys, gentlemen. Neff, great name. Neff Hendrickson wants to know Robert Wood or Marvin Jones, 2 times PPR, half-point bonus for a 100-yard game. Oh, that makes sense.
okay, 2.5. Man.
I think it's their calculus at us. Good.
Yeah, like, fuck. I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
I'm gonna go. I gotta stay true to Bobby Woods. I'm a believer that Trey White will be covering Cooper Kupp more than Woods. They also line Woods in the slot from time to time as well. That also pulls away from Trey White. So I got to stay true to and go with Bobby.
I'm going Robert Woods. I think that he gets a 100-yard game. I don't think Jones is going to get. Is Galladay playing? Galladay's playing, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't think Jones is getting a 100-yard game.
Yeah.
So Robert Woods lines up in the slot only 23.9% of his routes. I don't think it's that significant. I think Kupp is the slot receiver for that team. I actually like Kupp over Woods this week, and I think White's going to be covering Woods significantly. So I'll have to disagree. Back to the norm. I'm going to disagree and say don't have to start Robert Woods. I got Marvin Jones here.
Who are you going to?
I don't. Okay, so I'm just going with the better wide receiver, Robert Wood. I mean, think about it. Galladay's back. Hawkinson's in. DeAndre Swift is getting target. I'm going with Robert Wood. I mean, while the Bills what is it? It's the Bills, right? And not only that, people, you got to remember, revenge game, baby. Here comes Robert Wood. He wants his revenge against the Bills, you know? So I like that guy. I'm going Robert Wood. Yeah, for sure.
Also, a little bit about Jordan Reid here. Question, Jared. He ran less than 50% of. He was on the field less than 50% of the routes on the offensive snaps. So you're banking on efficiency with him. He wasn't on the field as much as you actually would think, although his fantasy points and targets say otherwise. But he was on the field for less than half. Yeah, it's the red zone. So you're banking on that efficiency, which is why I would not expect that type of output from Jordan Reid this week again.
I mean, to give you
Go ahead.
To give you an idea, Jared, the tight end that I would play over him, because Reid is like what? He's not cheap this week. I think he's like 3,700. He's 4,000. Tight end that I would play in that range at 4,000. Logan Thomas, Drew Sample. Let's see who else in that range. Yeah, those three guys. I mean, I would even go up. Oh, you're not gonna like this answer, actually. Dalton Schultz. I mean, but he's actually no. I wouldn't go up to him because he's gonna be covered by Jamal Adams or something like that. Hayden Hurst is the smash play of the week at tight end. With no Julio Jones, Matt Ryan is always comfortable to trust that hot route wide receiver. And while Ridley has really stepped up, I mean, Julio's like the guy that he's been with his whole career. So, I mean, how many games have Julio missed? Like probably like 3 or 4 in the last. I don't know how long.
He hasn't missed that many at all. Yeah, it's been
so like it's gonna be interesting.
On the injury report. That's all it was.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you put the grass is blue, the grass is green, the sky is blue, and Julio Jones on the injury report, and he plays every week, So it's crazy. But when I saw that he was out, I told my brother, I'm like, because I went to the gas station to get Red Bull because I was getting tired. I woke up at 4 in the morning. Because I wanted to get some sleep last night. I'm going to the gas station. I'm gonna get some Red Bull. And anyways, like I'm driving, I'm like, you know what? I have a feeling within the next 10 minutes we're gonna get a breaking news, like a what do you call it, Rappaport bombshell or something. And then my brother goes, "Did you see that?" I'm like, "Yeah, Julio's out, right?" And he goes, "Yeah, how'd you know?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just taking a guess, but is that what it is?" He's like, "Yeah, Julio's out." I'm like, "There it is. There's the news. That's what I needed." But I was all flipping out thinking Devontae Adams was on the slate, guys. So imagine my head. I was like, "Oh my God, this is the man." And then my brother goes, "That's the night game." I'm like, "Oh yeah, huh?"
So before you came on, we had that conversation. Devontae Adams, if he is out, who would you play?
Well, you would have to have a player in either that game, which would be MVS, or what's the other guy's name?
Lazard.
I'll definitely play Lazard over him, but Lazard's my number one play. But if you have a Monday night game, you would have to have the other wide receiver, the running back, which would be Ingram. I mean, if you have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you should be playing him, obviously. But and wide receiver, I mean, Cole Hardman might be on the waiver wire. You could probably pick him up, It'd be a dart throw, but, I mean, I don't know. You would really have to look at those 2 games. But in my opinion, I don't think Devontae Adams is going to play because he sounded very doubtful. And what's his name? Dr. Shao, Pro Football Doc, he said that the reason why he doesn't think Devontae Adams is going to play is because they're actually trying to make the playoffs. Obviously, every team is, but they're going to be very competitive. While the Atlanta Falcons with Julio, without Julio, they're not going to win, So they have to play him. But Devontae Adams, you got to think about it. He was dealing with a hamstring issue last year, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's the same hamstring or what, but if it is, it's going to be – I would sell high. I would sell Devontae right now in season long and stuff because that thing can drag on. Hamstring can drag on. I don't know if you guys ever sprained your hamstring, but it's not fun.
I will say this is going to be a true testament for Ridley today because now, you get the better defensive back, take that for what it's worth. You get you're the WR1, so it's a test to see if you can actually fulfill that while teams try and double team or try and shut down Julio to open up the opportunities. So is he the Antonio Brown, the pre-CTE Antonio Brown, or is he the Juju Smith-Schuster of the dynamics? So we'll see. We'll see what kind of production and ceiling and floor that he presents just as the lone star wideout. No discredit to Russell Gage.
I had a question, and maybe you guys can all help me out because my brother asked me, and I had another person DM me about it, and I just responded very straightforward. With Julio out, I always say that when targets go missing, they don't go to the wide receiver they go to the running back. With Gurley back there, I believe he's going to get targeted more. But the thing is, I haven't been very impressed with Gurley at all this year. I've actually been very disappointed. He was one of it's funny because you guys mentioned him early on. James Conner was my number one running back that I was always he has high injury probability. I don't want to target him too much. He does have that upside league winning, but and then Gurley was the second person. So do you guys think Gurley's going to get more passes?
I honestly think it's going to go to Gage. I think it's going to go to wide receiver.
So here's why I think it goes to Gage. Gage runs 70% of his routes from the slot. That's fourth ranked in the league. Now, I get it what you're saying that a lot of those passes do go to the running back, but it also goes to the tight end and the slot receiver. In this case, Russell Gage is that slot receiver for this offense. So I don't see, and considering how heavily he's used already in this offense, I think he actually gets more targets this week. And it's not like he's not using the red zone either. He's second in the league in red zone targets with 3 receptions and 4 targets. So he's definitely being targeted where it matters and also in the open field. So I think Russell Gage is a must start this week. I think he's locked in for at least 12, if not more, targets this week. Although I think his ceiling is a bit capped because of the defense that they are facing. Although he is facing, I think, Buster Skrine is his name? Yeah. Who's not very good. So I would.
I just. Playing Chicago, right?
Yeah. Well, that's
cornerbacks in the league. Who are they going to follow? Kyle Fuller and Jalen Johnson, right? You have the 2 best cornerbacks right now in the league. So Kyle's going to go on Ridley if they play man, and Jalen will go on who then? Are you saying Hayden Hurst? I mean, I'm sticking with Russell Gage, but I still think you have to account for those 2 cornerbacks. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Does he go and cover the slot? I'm not sure about that if he does or not.
Yeah, I don't think he will. I just tell people this: usage and opportunity matters a lot, especially when an injury happens. And how are they going to get that? That Atlanta Falcons defense sucks. So they're going to get scored on, field goals. They're going to punt. They're going to get special teams. It's just that defense is bad. Right now they're running almost 75 plays per game. I mean, that's a lot. And it's because of the Atlanta Falcons defense. And I mean, their special teams, they're semi-blind. They just look at the ball, go right by. So you never know. But I just want a lot. I want a lot of that game, and then the Seattle and Cowboys game.
The Falcons defense is down a cornerback too that is out for COVID. So
and a safety, right?
They're just a little bit worse now.
Yep.
FYI's Buster Skrine, I that happened to be. He's allowing 107.5 passer rating when he's thrown to. When the ball's thrown in his direction. So the matchup is actually pretty good for Gage, assuming that Skrine is the one that covers him.
Oh, okay. So you're saying Skrine's covering Gage then? Is that what your theory is?
That's what I'm thinking is, yes. If Skrine does cover Gage, I think Gage has a significantly better matchup. I think you start him. Absolutely. I'm starting him over John Brown, even though he is expected to play and he is dealing with a foot injury, but I am benching him for Gage this week.
Daniel Howland wants to know, says Jacobs could be limited or snap count. Do you still play him?
Yeah.
Josh Jacobs?
Yeah, Josh Jacobs.
No, you play Josh Jacobs.
He played through shoulder injury plenty of times last year and still produced towards the end of the season. I don't have the numbers on that. I don't know if you have them handy or not, but yeah, you still play him.
You drafted him in the first 2 rounds. If he's going to get limited, you're going to start someone else over Josh Jacobs?
Daniel, who would you play instead of Josh Jacobs? I think is the question.
It's got to be a top 5 running. It's got to be a top 5, 6 running back.
Well, that's the thing. If it's a DFS question, there's plenty of options. But if it's a season-long question, there's not a lot of options. You're going to play.
Right. You have Ruggs out, and you have Hamid's favorite guy still not getting any target love in Brian Edwards, so he's still not doing anything as always. So you keep on listening to him. You stay in the loser circle. I got your back. Do not play Brian Edwards. Trust me. Let him grow. Keep him in dynasty. Do not put him as a flex. Don't come anywhere near him, especially coming from a Giants fan.
Hey,
And then during the last minute here, Ryan Tannehill has 488 passing yards, 7.3 yards per attempt, nothing great, but 120.7 rating, 6-0 touchdown to interception rating, 0, meaning no turnovers. That's efficiency, and that's what you want. You don't want any minus scoring, so do not be afraid to play and start him again against the porous, ugly, horrid, purple people eating Vikings. Play him.
I'll give you credit.
Pick a flex for Daniel. Kelly or Davis? Full PPR.
Kelly.
Wait, what?
Pick a flex for Daniel. Full PPR. Kelly or Davis?
I'm going Davis because PPR.
Yeah.
Davis.
Well,
Oh,
Kelly's
my
only
goodness.
seen 3 fewer targets than Eckler entering this week, so I don't think Kelly is a bad play even in a PPR league. I think the volume is there for Kelly. He has the same number of rush attempts as Eckler does as well, so I'm going with Kelly.
I mean, it's close, so it's like.
It is close. Yeah,
I would go
I can
Kelly,
see them
too.
both being close to each other this week.
Yeah.
Go ahead, G.
One final thought. Because I had to get uploaded and then refresh my projections and everything. Russell Gage makes out to be a top 10 value. So get him in your lineup. He's looking to get like 14.5 points. When I do projections, it's just the mean. So his ceiling can be like 20 points.
I agree.
No, I didn't start Tannehill, Jared. I actually started Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, a bunch of other better quarterbacks.
All right, another question quick. Evan Ingram, Hayden Hurst, or Logan Thomas?
Hayden Hurst.
Hurst, no doubt.
Hurst.
As tempting
got?
as Logan Thomas sounds, I'm going to agree and go with Hurst. But man, Logan Thomas is really interesting this week.
Well,
Yeah.
I've got Julio Jones sitting in my starting lineup in a Dynasty League, so I have to bounce as well. Perhaps we do our outros real quick. Gladys?
Yes. What do you got, G? Where are you?
Just catch me on the waiver wire show. We had a really good showing last week on Tuesday. Find me at the Fantasy G Podcast / DFS Roundtable. On Twitter, I'm at the Fantasy G Pod. But I'll be there. You guys have a good weekend. I hope you guys win a lot of money and, have a win. Okay, actually, hold on. Let me say this. Can someone say a prayer with me? If I win today in fantasy football, please make sure none of my players get hurt. Can none of my players get hurt this weekend? Please.
Wait, one quick
Amen.
question. DK, Deontay Johnson, Boyd, or Galladay? Wow.
Ooh.
That's
I have to go Galladay.
Really?
Yeah.
Galladay with the best
I'm
matchup.
going to stay with Boyd. Boyd's still being the target guy, even over A.J. Green, and usually game script with the Cincinnati defense being so awful, they're still going to be passing a lot, so I'm going to go Boyd here.
All right, gentlemen. All right, what do you think?
I would go with Boyd as well. You can find me on Twitter at FFJunkie85, and also I'm a contributor every Wednesday for goingfordude.com. 2 quick takeaways just really quickly here. The Patriots are allowing the 4th most fantasy points to the wide receiver position. So for you, Jared, to hit on my boy Bryan Edwards, this might be a week where he actually does significantly well, better than what he's done, which is more than 1 target in a game. So just keep that in mind. Also, for Devontae Adams owners, the Green Bay Packers have a bye week on week 5. Don't be surprised if they decide to sit him all the way to week 5. So just have backup ready just in case for next week.
How dare you?
It's eventually going to hit if you keep picking Edwards for 16 straight times. So the one time you will do it, you'll be shoving my face in it like a dog in poop, man. And I'm
Buy low. This is the buy
put
low
this away
window
now.
for him.
What do you got?
You can find me RICCO Rico _3733 on Twitter, and just be on the lookout for our weekly must add waiver wire at the end of Sunday night. Just something we post out on, I believe, Monday we get it out. Yeah. So.
And I am GL. You can find me at Never Enough GLT on Twitter. Also, Thursday Sooner Starts on Going for Two, and Monday Night Football with Kyle and Dan on this station. Good luck, you guys. Hope no one gets hurt. Play well. We will see you next week. Thanks for joining.
Stop Ryan Tannehill.
See you guys.